He kicked me out of the house. If I connect with someone, you have to make me laugh and treat me well.
Imperative at that point and very obvious that this person is not right for you, which it speeds up the process of you going through heartache and making a mistake. People aren't good or bad, but what makes them good or bad are the experiences that they go through.
You cannot fix anybody. You can't. You can recognize patterns in someone's behavior, but you can't fix them. They have to make the choice themselves. I do believe men and women can be friends, but I think it's rare. What I've learned about myself is I like the fire. As an Aries, I like the fire. I like the intensity. If you're obsessed with me, I like it. But I recognize that that's not healthy.
If you are in love with someone, you are naturally going to be passionate about them.
Lets a woman be a woman, like in her feminine. I don't need a man, but I want that. You know, I want an alpha to be like, it's okay, I got this. I got the reservation. Let's go here. Let's do this.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us and hope you continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. I am Hamid Moai here with our latest guest.
Hi.
Caitlin. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Please introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, how old you are, so on and so forth.
Okay. My name is Caitlin. I'm from Orange County, originally born and raised. I act and I model. And yeah, that's what I've been doing.
How old did you say you were?
Oh, I'm 35.
Awesome. And what's your sign?
I'm an Aries. I'm a fire sign.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's true. It is for sure.
Your birthday's coming up, or?
It already passed. It was
passed.
April 5th. Yes.
Okay, cool.
When's your birthday?
September 18th. I'm a Virgo.
Oh, very grounded.
Do you know a lot about signs or no?
I do. I mean, I know which ones to avoid.
Which is?
I'm kidding. The ones that I really like, that I know are bad for me, are probably also fire signs too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sagittarius, love them. Leos, love them. Aries men, forget it.
Forget meaning what, you love them or you don't?
They're the worst.
They're the worst.
But they're so much fun. But yes, they're the worst.
Is that what you attract mostly?
Yes, I have a theory actually.
Which is?
Okay. My theory is called the shiny toy theory. Okay. I only attract men who like the way I look at first. Mm-hmm. And the ones that do talk to me are usually, the playboys or the fuckboys. And they're probably narcissistic. And then they're like, ooh, there's a shiny toy. Let me play with it. I want it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then they get with me and figure out, oh my God, she has feelings. She has thoughts. Yes. And then they don't know what to do with this shiny toy that they were like all obsessed with at first.
What's the age range that you usually date?
I don't have an age range that I usually date. I think it's like, if I connect with someone, you have to make me laugh and treat me well. Well, I've learned a lot, last couple of years. But I don't have a type. I never had a type or an age range. My last breakup, he was a year older than I was, and that didn't end very well.
How did that end?
Well, so I really was very turned off of dating apps, but I'm like, all right, I'm getting old. I gotta meet someone. So I got on Hinge, met this guy on Hinge, and 3 months later we were engaged. Okay. Invited my entire family to the cannery in Newport Beach. My 90-year-old grandfather was there. And 3 months later, he broke it off after the whole wedding was paid for. Yeah. So.
So he was 35 and you were 34?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously there's a lot of details here that's being missed.
Sure.
So let's start with you guys meet and
yes,
you're obviously infatuated by this person.
Right.
And so is he by you.
Yes.
Correct.
Shiny toy.
And what I'm wondering is, at 34 years old, do you not recognize the difference between infatuation and love?
You know, I don't think at the time, I don't know. I think I have a really big heart, and I think I'm able to love someone deeply. But looking back, actually, I think you have to go through seasons with someone to really love someone in every state that they're in, whether it's, you know, they're happy or they lost a job or someone died in the family, good and bad. Then you can decide if you love that person.
Okay. And did you go through that with this person? No.
No.
Okay.
And so I don't think, I mean, yes, I was infatuated. He checked all the boxes, had a wonderful family. Compared to my previous relationship, he was the one.
So why did he break it off?
He said we weren't compatible. That was his reasoning. I mean,
do you disagree?
I disagree. Because I think if you love someone, you're willing to work through things. I mean, he went out of his way to propose, get my family involved, bring me into his family. Like, why wouldn't someone want to work through whatever issue is going on in their head? So it was a little alarming that he didn't even want to like work on whatever was bothering him about me.
Did he propose to you after 3 months, or did you guys talk about it before he proposed?
You know, basic things like, I wanted marriage and a family. He wanted those same things too. We talked about it, but I didn't think he was going to do it so soon.
So when he did propose, what did you think to yourself? Was it an emotional response of, oh my God, this is so romantic. I love him. He loves me so much. And this is amazing.
Yes.
Okay. And then obviously at that point, you kind of got into just trying to plan the wedding.
Yes.
And so the relationship sort of took a side step where you weren't really focused on the red flags, I'm assuming.
Probably. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I was so excited. You know, as a woman, like we have a time clock, right? So if I meet this man who's like so wonderful and so fabulous and wants to marry me and he wants the same things as me, I'm not looking at the red flags, or I'm like, oh, it's fine.
Right.
When it's really not. And I was really focused on planning the wedding too.
Sure. So were you blindsided when he broke it off?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
And so presumably when you asked him about it, he just didn't want to talk about it and he just ignored having a conversation?
Yeah. So, we got into an argument. We were in the middle of moving. We had picked out a house together. Just basic couple stuff. Like I'm cooking. He wants to go out. We're getting rid of furniture, those kinds of things. We had a week to move out of our apartment into our house. We got in some weird fight. You know, there was some name calling. Couples do that sometimes when it's like tension. Not all the time, but I mean, we never fought.
So that was your first time fighting.
And he kicked me out of the house. And then we didn't speak for 5 days. And then he was done. He didn't want to speak to me, refused to.
Well, I mean, that explains a lot. It sounds like the first time you guys fighting was the first time that he was triggered by whatever that event was, based upon whatever thing he had going on in his past.
Right.
And he no longer wanted to actually
it was really weird.
Deal with it. When you look back, aside from that incident, do you see any other red flags that you should have been aware of?
You know, yes. At the very beginning, he was always so happy all the time. Like nothing bothered him. And I said to him at the beginning of the relationship, if anything ever bothers you, I want you to come to me and tell me so I can fix it, you know. And he never did that until it was like he was about to explode.
Right.
So that was definitely a red flag.
Who was doing the name calling? Was he him? Was it you? Or was it both of you?
It started off with him. Yeah.
And then you returned the favor, and then.
Yeah, he just started, you have no passions in life. You're a bitch. I'm like, what? Where's this coming from? We're fighting over a dinner. So I think maybe he had all these like.
Resentment.
Yeah. He had like things that I didn't know about.
Sure.
You know? So I think it's definitely, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Emotionally and financially, okay?
Sure. Because you guys, were you buying a house together or renting a house together?
So his dad had helped us out with the house, with the down payment, and then we had picked it out together, and then we're gonna remodel it. And
so you were buying a house together.
Yeah.
And, okay, that's kind of, so what stage were you guys in? Because that seems very complicated after trying to.
I know.
Dissolve that whole situation.
Oh, yeah. I have my wedding dress. I'm trying to sell it today. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Down payment on the wedding's paid for. Vendors are paid for. I mean, it's like I was so excited for the wedding, to be with him, to start a family.
How long has it been since you guys been broken up?
We broke up in August of last year.
So almost, like half a year. What are we, April now? Yeah.
Yeah. And
8 months.
It was just really strange because the way he broke up with me, he sat me down and he fired me like an employee. Like there was no emotion. It was really strange. And I'm like, I thought you loved me. But, you know, even if you were going to break up with someone, you'd be like, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. Like, I know that we've put all this time and money into this wedding and like we can work through this, but this is just not for me. Yeah. And that's what I think, you know, an emotionally stable and mature man would do. Sure. But he did not treat me. He was like, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm done. I'm like, what? Like that.
I think a lot of times people tend to get into relationships before understanding their partner's value system.
100%.
But I think it's also extremely important, as equally important, to understand your partner's trauma. Yes. And upbringing, how they were raised, the things that they care about in life, and the things that would bother them, what would trigger them. And these conversations typically don't really happen because these are uncomfortable conversations. Yes. And I think if more people decided to have these serious conversations without being afraid of the other person's response to it, then they would be able to avoid years of heartache and things that you can't really go back from. Yes. And on top of that, I think, you know, sometimes people ask me this question of like, hey, like, how would you deal with this? Or how would you deal with this? I think if you try to talk to a person like a mature adult and they responded with, well, I don't want to talk about this, or, you know what, I don't think we should be together, or whatever it is, a rejection to that end, then I think it's imperative at that point and very obvious that this person is not right for you, which it speeds up the process of you going through heartache and making a mistake. Oh, yeah. That would have wasted years, months, and days out of your life. So, you know, in this particular situation, it sounds like if you could have had the conversation, first of all, it sounds like he probably would have avoided the conversation to begin with because he wasn't really communicative.
Right. From the beginning. Right. You know, and I think if I look back on my life and I had those tools, if I knew those things before I even like dated anyone in my entire life, and those were the first things I would ask someone, I think my life would have been a lot easier
Sure.
and filled with less heartache.
Yeah.
But I wasn't raised with a lot of trauma.
Mm.
You know, I had a really good upbringing. I have a solid family system.
Mm-hmm.
So I inherently think, and I also have trained myself to inherently think that people are good. Instead,
I tend to say that people aren't good or bad, but what makes them good or bad are the experiences that they go through. And so it sort of, everybody makes mistakes.
yes.
You know, you can't avoid making mistakes because
Right.
it's part of being a human being. And I think what I value in a person is, one, how quickly they learn from their mistakes, and how much they care about not making the same mistake over and over again.
Absolutely.
Because most of the time when you meet someone who does something wrong, first of all, do they even care to apologize? Do they even care to take accountability? And if they don't, then that's not a person you want to associate with.
Right.
And secondly, if they do take accountability, was it something they just said, or they actually care enough to make a change?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard to make changes because the qualities, certain traits have been embedded in our mind in a way that it's just harder to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think understanding that also helps the person who is on the other end of receiving it to allow their friends or partners to make those mistakes without judging them, and allow them to take their time in order to make those changes and become a better person and grow.
Right.
So overall, if he, for example, in this case, didn't really care about, making those changes, which sounds like he wouldn't have to begin with, then it just wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much you try to fix it at that point.
Right. And yeah, and that's, I learned with my previous relationship before him that you cannot fix anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You can recognize patterns in someone's behavior, but you can't fix them. They have to make the choice themselves. And he made the choice not to be with me, and because he didn't want to fix himself.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think moving forward, I would like to find, that person that will recognize a mistake, take accountability, and fix it.
Yeah. So what number relationship is this?
This is like, out of college, I dated a baseball player for 8 years, traveled with him all over the United States. That was my first relationship. And then after that, really my second serious relationship was to an older man who was very toxic.
Mm-hmm. How much older was he?
20 years.
So what age are you and what age is he when you guys meet?
I met him when I was like 32.
Okay, so he's 52, you're 32.
Yeah.
And how did you guys meet?
We met at a Maxim Super Bowl party.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. What made him toxic?
Oh man, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the boy who never had to grow up.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, he's in entertainment, makes a lot of money in entertainment, driving cars and riding motorcycles.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he thinks he's like Evel Knievel and invincible.
Okay. Well, I mean, objectively, those things aren't individually toxic. Nor do they make anybody toxic.
Okay, so he was a stuntman.
Okay.
And so when you are doing this, like on set, you're making millions of dollars. And you are getting hurt, but you come back and then you do it again. You make more money.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're invincible.
Okay.
Whether it be with your work, or with whatever you do, like women, doesn't matter what I do. I'm always good. So he was very toxic. I mean,
So he was cheating on you is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure he was. Yeah.
Do you know that he was, or you're assuming that he was?
I found out he was.
How did you find out?
Oh man, I actually looked. I looked on our security cameras.
Okay, all right. Let's start this story from the beginning.
Okay, I mean this is like a whole thing. Okay?
Yeah. So go through like what had
Oh,
transpired for you to get to this point to even attempt to do this.
I really tried to like. I have so much trauma from this that I've tried to block it out of my brain.
I understand.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do you get me? Okay. So he actually proposed to me also, but it wasn't like we had gone to look at rings casually, but it was a ring I would never pick out. Super old style. I'm like, this is somebody else's ring. Like I knew it was someone else's. So I'm fixated on this ring, this ugly ring that he gave me. And I'm fixated on it. And then I'm like looking through the cameras, I'm looking on the iPad. First of all, I find out that the ring he had recycled probably 3 times. Didn't even care to change the setting. Okay. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to look on the cameras. And then I see another woman come in the house, leave the house. And I'm like, oh she's just a friend. I'm like, oh, but you failed to tell me about this woman who was coming in and out of the house. Yeah.
So he said that she's just a friend. And you refuse to believe him.
Yeah. Which actually, I do believe men and women can be friends. But I think it's rare, or maybe there is an attraction on one side or the other. But I would like to know your opinion on that.
On what? Whether or not
can men and women be friends?
It depends on the degree of how ugly the other person is.
Yeah. Okay.
So they could be friends if one of them is ugly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
If they're both attractive, they could be friends, but there's definitely underlying attraction to some extent from at least one person.
Yeah, because I feel like I have the ability to be friends.
Sure. That doesn't necessarily mean that like these people are cheating or that they're doing something inappropriate. Right. It just means that like, okay, so this is sort of the example that I would like to give. I'm able to walk on the street and recognize when somebody is attractive.
Right.
That doesn't automatically mean that I would want to have sex with them.
Of course.
However, if I attempt to become friends with this person, then I think that the question of whether or not I want something more than just being friends with this person is a fair question. So, you obviously in this particular case, I'm assuming this was an attractive woman that, obviously wasn't a maid. So it was an attractive woman that just came and then left. And depending on the timeline, you could kind of just like figure out how long the person was around. Right. And then, assume that something happened. Yeah. I mean, it's it's not hard proof of anything, but I think intuitively you could just kind of be like,
I did. Yeah. And it was more like a gut feeling.
Right.
For sure.
So then did that end up making you break up with him or did you just continue?
I think women are interesting in a way that, we can mentally check out of a relationship. Even we're not cheating, but mentally we've already broken up with the other person in our head. But, there is a little glimmer of hope that like, okay, maybe let's see what happens. Let's see if he changes. Let's see this. But like mentally, mostly women are checked out. So it happened. I forgave him. And then, it happened again. And then I was out.
happened again after this incident?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's
What happened?
so many lies.
Which are what?
I mean, he had this friend also, this girlfriend, not attractive.
Okay.
She became my friend. We went on trips. I thought I had nothing to worry about. Well, come to find out that she was cuddling with him on the couch every time I left to go visit my parents in Orange County. And I'm like, is that appropriate? Like,
how did you find this out?
I actually found this out months later, actually. He was trying. I mean, the narcissist man is very persistent. They just don't. They want everybody to be in love with them forever. And like, yeah.
He was trying to get you back.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, well, you just went to Vegas with your ugly bestie over here, so have fun.
Okay. So, how long were you guys together?
About like a year and a half. But that was also like an intense, like, I want to be with you. We're together. And what I've learned about myself is I like the fire. As an Aries, I like the fire. I like the intensity. If you're obsessed with me, I like it. But I recognize that that's not healthy. That's not, it shouldn't be like that. I mean, yeah, you should have passion and fire for sure.
Of course.
But there are limits.
I mean, there are ways to, I think if you are in love with someone, you are naturally going to be passionate about them.
For sure.
But I think there is a way to communicate, and there's a way to be in a healthy relationship where it doesn't require taking away passion in order to make the relationship work.
Right.
Because passion doesn't mean crazy. Passion doesn't mean like, beating somebody up just because they looked at, your partner.
Right.
Passion doesn't mean that like you have to, follow this person and like look at their location at all times
right.
in order, like, that's not what passion is.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people confuse that and think that if you're passionate about this person, that you kind of have to be just like, hovering over them at all times and like controlling, every single one of their moves.
Right. But that also can, fall back on childhood trauma.
Of course.
And learning about the love language or your attachment style. Okay. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So what do you consider cheating?
I think anything that you wouldn't tell your partner about or you wouldn't want to share or be open with is cheating, whether it's physically or emotionally. If you're like texting an ex-girlfriend or having secret phone calls and you're not sharing that with your partner, like that's kind of emotional cheating to me.
It gets a little bit tricky though, because if I, let's say, my ex-girlfriend, she is very, we're still connected because we were together for like 6 years on and off.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of things that I still like help her with, or, whatever.
Well, then you guys have a good friendship, right?
Sure. I think we had a long relationship, which was, and we had a fairly healthy breakup. And I'm not a type of person that would like cut somebody off just because I'm upset or whatever the case is. I tend to be friends with most of my exes, or at least have an amicable relationship as much as I possibly can. But,
yeah.
I do think that like if my, ex texted me to have a conversation about something, that's not going to be like the first thing that I'm going to go and tell my partner about.
Right.
So, I also have had like in my early 20s, there was this moment once when I thought to myself, I didn't want to tell somebody something because I didn't want to hurt them.
Right.
But I didn't necessarily think to myself that I'm doing anything wrong by not telling them. And so I think, sometimes you might be put in a position where you are going to, because like my other ex before that was a little like she was very crazy, and so she would just like freak out. And there was this one time when I went to get one of my friends from outside the club to like bring her to the table.
Yeah.
And the club was packed. It was just like you couldn't walk in there. And I was trying to get her, and one of the things, like, as I have a very dominant personality, so like, you know, for me it's very easy to like get to places
Sure.
when I'm like walking through people, because I have a more of an aggressive sort of movement, versus if somebody who's more submissive, they'll just like wait around and
Like,
they'll be lost, you know, they just wouldn't know like where to go.
Right.
So I grabbed her hand and I'm like taking, you know, her through the crowd, sort of just like, you know, making sure that like she gets there. And my ex sees this from the table, and she like walks over to me and slaps me across the face.
Wow.
And just walks out.
Okay, that's crazy.
And you know, she's drunk, and so I continue my path, and just I take this girl to the table.
Yeah.
And then I walk out of the club, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And she's like, you were holding her hand, like blah blah blah. You know, you should go be with her, like all these things. And I'm like, you don't need to act like this. Why don't you go home, and then we'll have a conversation tomorrow.
Right.
She goes, see, you're like blah blah blah, and she's like, you know, just going crazy. And,
I mean, but that's understandable. Like, if you want to get someone through the crowd, like, I would get that.
But the point I'm trying to make is this, that, you know, a person like that, you know, who kind of just like is also very fiery and just freaks out, you know, at every little thing, because she's very insecure and like worried about, you know, losing me or whatever the case is, comes with this sort of, you know, downside of me not wanting to have a trust in the relationship enough to feel comfortable and safe to tell her things that, you know, I think would make her react very unreasonably. And so, you know, to sort of automatically say that anything that you don't want to share with your partner would be considered cheating, I think it ignores the nuances of certain situations that perhaps would require you to keep some things away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see that, but to me, I don't want a partner that I can't share everything with.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I want someone who's like gets it, like it's very understanding, not reactive, like logical.
Yeah.
I need a logical person.
Well, it sounds like you don't really get the logical person, because you're not attractive to the more logical.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, 3 years, maybe. I've learned a lot about myself and like what I want in a partner. And I want someone who's logical and understanding and doesn't, you know, gaslight you or emotionally manipulate you or abuse you.
Do you prefer monogamy over?
Yes.
And so you would never be in an open relationship as a result?
No.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just not for me.
Have you tried it?
No.
Okay. So what's the thought process behind this need for a monogamous relationship?
Probably my value system.
Which is?
Well, I'm a Catholic, so I believe like in marriage and being with one person, and like that's the goal.
It's very interesting to me, because so you just said something that is one of my, in a sense, pet peeves of people.
Oh God.
Is
now you hate me.
No, not at all. Not at all. I truly believe that unless a person is actively practicing the religion, they tend to otherwise pick and choose the things they like and put aside the things they don't like. And that sort of way of living doesn't make much sense to me, because if I wrote a contract for you, mm-hmm. and I said, hey, these are the rules that you have to abide by, and then you were like, okay, yeah, no problem. And I was like, you agree, and you say yes. And then you just pick the ones that you like. And then
right. I totally understand what you're saying.
And just put aside the ones that you didn't. I'd be like, hey, this contract is null and void. It doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Right. So and this is one of the things that, like, a lot of, like, I have some Muslim friends, mm-hmm. and they would and this is very primarily happens with a lot of Arab countries, mm-hmm. and they, during Ramadan, they won't drink. And one time I asked one of my friends, I was like, hey, like, he was like, yeah, like, I'm not gonna drink during Ramadan. I was like, but why not? And he was like, because it's Ramadan. I was like, but you drink 11 other months out of the year. And he goes, yeah, but like this month I won't.
Yeah.
And like that's like crazy to me. Like, that makes no sense, because if you're going to sin, in a sense, right, then you've already sinned the rest of the time. This 1 month you're not going to sin.
Right.
And like, I don't really understand, like, how God is going to, like, look at this and say what exactly, that, like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden it's okay because mm-hmm. you didn't do it this one. Like, it's just, it's such a hypocritical way of living that it makes zero sense to me. I've never had alcohol, and people ask me, like, is it religious? And I would say, no, it's not. It's not a religious decision, because I'm not a religious person. Mm-hmm. Is it true that Muslims don't drink, therefore I don't drink? I mean, it's just a coincidence that that both things are true, but it doesn't mean that I'm religious as a result of me not drinking, because I made a conscious decision that drinking is not good for you, and so I just don't do it. So
yeah.
So. But I wouldn't go around and tell people that I'm Muslim because I don't drink.
Right.
So when you said that you're Catholic, and you have Catholic values, it sounds to me.
Not all. I mean, okay.
No, that's what it sounds to me, that you don't.
So then you're totally right about, like, picking and choosing, because I don't agree with everything. Mm-hmm. But yes, like, ultimately, like, I want to build with one person. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to build a life with someone else. And, I feel like also, like, I'm in a rebirth period, because I thought I really wanted those things. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. That was my idea with the last couple of relationships. Now I'm in a place where I feel like God has a plan for me, whether I do get married or whether I don't, or whether I have kids. So yes, I feel like I understand what you're saying, but I'm also, like, open to new experiences. I don't think I would do the open relationship mm-hmm. thing, but I don't feel as pressured by myself or by my family, but mostly myself, to get married and have kids. Mm-hmm. Whatever the world is going to give to me, the divine is going to give it to me, okay, so be it.
Okay. Understandable. How does one person, how is your partner supposed to cope with the fact that your career at some point would require you to do things that would go against a monogamous marriage?
Right. I don't think they would like that.
No shit.
I don't think so.
Uh-huh. So then what happens then?
Yeah, that would have to be a conversation.
Conversation where you justify why it's okay?
Okay, well, maybe so.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Maybe so. But, I mean, thankfully I haven't had too many of those instances where, I had to kiss someone else when I was shooting something or...
Well, I'm assuming the reason why you're in this career path is because you want to become very successful at it, no?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I love the craft of it. I love making people feel something. You know, if I can't do it in my relationship, at least I can do it for, you know, strangers.
Okay. But presumably if you do become very successful, then you will have scenes when you're either doing, you know, a physical just kissing or like even more than that, whatever the case is, right?
Sure.
So again, the question remains, if you're in a monogamous relationship and your values are of Catholic ones, then wouldn't it be fair to say that your partner would have to have same sort of values in order for you guys to be compatible?
Yeah, you definitely have to have a similar value system.
Sure. So then if you do have similar value system and he is also in a monogamous relationship with you, it would be fair to assume that he wouldn't be okay with you having scenes with another man.
Probably not.
Okay.
He probably would not. But also, like, you know, if you're in a relationship with me, you know this is my job. Eventually,
Let's role play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Explain to me how I should be okay with you making out with another man.
Do you know what you signed up for?
No, this is like our first date. We're trying to have a
first
conversation.
Date?
Yes.
Or we've been together for a while.
Well, because you just threw a curveball, which is like, oh, you knew what you signed up for.
Yeah.
And that to me is that would have been the first conversation you and I would have had.
Yeah.
Because you know, part of that is true. Yes, I do know what I signed up for. I thought I signed up for a woman who's Catholic who wants to be monogamous.
Okay. Well, but I'm also an actress and I'm in bikinis a lot.
Mm-hmm. So which one comes first? You being a Catholic with values of a person who agrees with a monogamous relationship, or Caitlin, who is an actress in bikinis?
Yeah, well, you could still be a good person in a bikini.
Being good has nothing to do with anything. I could be in an open relationship and extremely good.
Right, but
that's
I don't,
unrelated to.
Yeah, but I don't believe in that. Okay.
No, I understand.
Right.
But that's my point. If you don't believe in it, then why should I believe in it?
I'm not going to make you. I don't think you should believe a certain way. Like.
So what are we going to do? How are we going to resolve this? You making out with somebody?
Well, thankfully they're intimacy coordinators on the set.
How is that going to help you know, kissing another man?
And also, too, let me tell you, before there is any physical scenes, you're well aware of them.
Okay.
So either, you know, you have that discussion if it's okay, if it, you know, contributes to the film and it's essential for the story, then yes, like I'm sorry, but there's no negotiation there. This is what's happening. We're going to make out on this movie. But if there are ways to work around with the camera in the scene where it looks like it's implied, or, you know, you can
but
avoid
we're not
it.
talking about that. We're talking about where you have to do this.
You know what? You really got me stumped on this one. If I had to do this, I would hope. Okay, at this I would hope and I would pray that he would be okay with it. Also, like, yeah, that would be a hard discussion. I don't know.
It's because it's a hypocritical discussion. It's first of all, this is not the first time I'm having this conversation.
Oh,
clearly.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
I understand what you're saying. You know, the argument a lot of actors and actresses have is that, oh, it's for work, or that, oh, there's no feelings behind it, or that it's just acting. But it doesn't change the fact that the physical act itself, which is your lips touching another person's lips, are happening.
Right.
And that is unavoidable.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I think that this is this is what makes it hypocritical, is because the person who is responding saying, trying to justify and making the excuses is often the person that is trying to make you believe that you should trust them because they trust themselves. I know what I'm doing, therefore you should trust me because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but then you're discounting your partner's feelings.
Exactly. Not to mention that as an actress, you have seen and heard multiple different people in the past who are actors and actresses who have had who were in relationships, committed relationships, monogamous relationships with their partners, who then went and spent a month, 2 months, 3 months with somebody that they were acting with, and they end up breaking up with their partner just to go and be with this new person that they did a scene with.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make you think twice about the fact that how is it that all these people, so what is it? Like these people didn't love their partners before they went to do these scenes? Of course they did.
Yeah.
Didn't these people tell their partners, hey, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry. Angelina Jolie's, hot. Yes. Yeah. I could see how pretty she is, but I'm not attracted to her.
Hey, you know what? There's a lot of actors are narcissists also. So,
I mean, that also would include you now.
I mean, hey, I don't think, no, I am not a narcissist. I'm like a horrible empath. That's why I pick narcissists. That's my downfall.
Let's say we believe you, which obviously we would have to at this point. But nonetheless, don't you think that if you were having that conversation with a partner who wants to also be in a monogamous relationship, that they would just simply be uncomfortable? And the only reason why they would probably accept it and they would say okay to it is because they feel that they have no other choice but to say okay.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, that could happen. I mean, but there are actors that take a stand to that. To say, I'm not doing any kissing scenes. I'm not doing that.
It doesn't sound like you're one of those.
I've probably been in this position once before. I did speak up and I said, I don't want to do it. And there was just like a hand holding scene. But it's because I didn't feel okay with doing it. Sure. Now, looking back, after all those failed relationships, maybe I would do it this time.
Well, yeah, because
I'm like, okay, I sacrificed myself for someone who just kicked me to the curb.
Of course, but all these lines are arbitrary, right?
Totally.
Like, yeah. You not holding somebody's hand is, or you holding somebody's hands is probably not going to bother me at all, right? Like I don't care about it that much.
No.
I also don't think, but some other person might. Some other person would be like, you know what? Like you can't even talk to another male person. You can't even be friends with another male person. And so, whether or not they're right or wrong, that is a whole other conversation. But the reality of it is that everyone has their own perception and perspective when it comes to why they feel the way they do about certain situations, especially when it comes to the relationships and their partner having relationships or doing certain things with the opposite sex. Do you tend to date people who are financially more secure, or does that not matter?
I think when I was younger, it didn't really matter at all to me. I dated a baseball player who I was making more money than he was. And even when I broke up with him and moved back to LA, I didn't really care about that. And I think now, I mean, yeah, it's important to be secure. You don't want to date some broke guy who can't take you on a date. No, I'm too old for that.
What's the oldest you would date?
Under 60.
Under 60. Okay. Why not above 60? Why not under 70?
No,
What happens once they turn 60?
I can't date a guy the same age as my parents.
You cannot.
No, I cannot.
Just close enough.
Yeah. Maybe like, I don't know, under 10.
Why does that change the dynamic?
It doesn't. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, but.
Because like if a guy is like 59 or like 63, like what is the difference?
No, there's not a difference.
Okay.
But I haven't dated that many older men, maybe 2.
So the oldest age gap you've had was 20 years. No?
Maybe like 21.
21. So you dated somebody when you were in your 20s?
No, I did not.
So is there another person who was 21 years older than you?
I mean, yes, I have. Yes. But we're not going there.
Okay. Have you ever cheated on anyone?
No.
Never.
No.
Okay. Have you ever been tempted to cheat on anyone?
No.
So what I'm assuming when you're in a relationship, obviously you're still getting hit on, because I don't think that's going to go away. Well, how do you respond to people when they hit on you?
I take it as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's flattering. Like
Sure.
One day I'm going to be ugly and old and like with my bad hip replacement or something. You know, it's like I'm well aware. I'm 5'9", dirty blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Woman living in Hollywood. Yes. I use my looks to make money as a model and an actress. So yeah. Mm-hmm. It's nice. Thank you. Keep it moving.
What happens when they insist?
I'm a strong woman, so it's easy for me to like, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested, but thank you.
Okay. Do you tend to date people who are more dominant?
Yeah.
And so they're essentially what they call an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How would you describe an alpha?
I believe that the true alpha is a man who's strong, physically and emotionally, who has done some self-realization and reflection, and lets a woman be a woman, like in her feminine. And what I mean by that is like the truest alpha male, it lets the woman relax, calms her nervous system, supports her emotionally. Yes, it can be financially too, but emotionally, like attends to her needs, and then you can really relax as a woman. Because I think, especially for me, it's always like you're in fight or flight mode or you're in hustle mode. And I've always been a really hard worker. And so I've always felt like I don't need a man, but I want that. I want an alpha to be like, it's okay, I got this. I got the reservation. Let's go here. Let's do this. It's nice because usually I'm the one who's doing it. Mm. So a man who can lead but not be controlling.
Okay. Does height matter?
You know what? I've dated a short king before.
Uh-huh.
I don't think so. No, not to me. I mean, like, I've been 5'9" with heels. I'm probably 6'2". I've been this tall since I was 12 years old. Height doesn't really matter to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's most of the time. Well, I've seen all range of it, from girls who are very tall and tend to want to date taller, and then girls who are, not very tall and want to date very tall men.
Yeah. To
girls who are kind of your height and just, are okay with whatever. But I'm trying to make a connection between those who feel the way you do versus the ones who feel like they want to be with somebody who's much taller than them, especially when they get to your height level.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because of
Maybe they want to even out the gene pool. Like if you're a short girl and you're with a tall guy, then maybe your kids will be like in between.
Well, I suppose you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Who do you describe as a gold digger?
Who do I describe as a gold digger? Someone who really is just a user and has no feelings and really is materialistic and is not focused on an emotional connection and they're only focused on what they can get out of another person.
Mm-hmm. Do you have friends like that?
No.
Do you know women like that?
I've met people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have met people like that living
Sure.
in LA. But friends like that, no. I don't want to be friends with someone like that.
If we talk to, do you have a lot of close friends?
I
Female
do.
friends?
Uh-huh.
If we called one of them and asked what your toxic traits are, what would they say?
Oh, I'm overly forgiving.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say that I forgive way too easy. I'm impatient.
Okay.
What else? I fall in love quickly. Hello.
Are you obsessive?
With certain things.
Meaning
I don't know. If I find something I'm passionate about, I can be obsessive, whether it's like fitness. I was doing bodybuilding. I got obsessed with that. But I don't know. I think that maybe like that word is a little different because I think like obsession and passion can like overlap in a way. It just depends on your perspective.
Why do you want to get married?
Well, I thought I wanted to get married.
But why do you want to?
I think there's something special about building a life with someone and going through, like, you know, my grandparents were married. My parents are still married.
Mm-hmm. Happily?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're so happy. I mean, they've gone to everyone. I think every couple goes through really hard times.
Sure.
And you make that choice to be with that person and go through those hard things and learn from each other. But you have to be open to it. Obviously, you have to be open to learning and falling and going through like hell with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think there's something romantic in that. And like going through the greatest times of your life and the hardest times of your life with someone and just knowing that someone's always going to be there.
Do you think marriage should be a lifelong commitment, or should there be an expiration that could be renewed?
I think it's a lifelong commitment. Yeah. But I'm well aware that sometimes it expires. I'm not saying that like, you know, I've known people who are married like 30 years and then they're done.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't I don't think that's the idea of like going into a marriage.
But do you think that's realistic nowadays in this society?
If you follow the 10 Commandments or you have a good moral system, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. Yes. If you are a good person, yes. But again, like my idea of a good person is someone who can be monogamous and honest and communicative. Your idea of a good person doesn't necessarily mean they have to be monogamous. So,
well, monogamy doesn't particularly have anything to do with being a good person.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. If that's your choice, that's the way you want to live, doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just that's not a person I would choose.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
But that has nothing to do with them being bad. It just has everything to do with the fact that you don't want to be in an open relationship and you want to be monogamous.
Yes.
So because I think, okay, so because obviously you have no problem with like sex before marriage. So then, in a sense, if you were in an open relationship, let's say, from your first relationship, and
Well, technically I was my first relationship, and I just wasn't aware of it. Okay, so technically, yes.
Well, I mean, that doesn't count. It just sounds like he cheated on you a bunch of times.
Oh yeah.
Which is, it's. But this is sort of the point I'm trying to get at, which is like if you knew that he was going to cheat on you, right? And and he said, hey, like, instead of me cheating on you, I'm not going to cheat on you, but let's just be in an open relationship, and then you could go and be with whoever you want, and I go and be with whoever I want. At which point you would have been like, hey, no, I don't want this. Totally. I'm going to be with somebody else.
Yeah.
And your second relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing. They would have said, hey, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I want to be in an open relationship. I don't want to be monogamous. Mm-hmm. And you would have said, hey, no, I'm going to move on. I'm out.
Totally.
And you go to the third relationship, and then, he says the same thing. And it's like, if all these men are going to do this anyway, you prefer to be alone for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Actually, I'm happy. Yeah. Actually, I don't need to break my heart. Like, it's fine. But the thing is, listen, I do believe that some men you can be monogamous. Okay. You're not going physically cheating. Maybe you're watching porn here and there. Fine. But why are these men who are cheating, why are they such pussies, and why can't they just say, hey, you know what, I'm just not a faithful kind of guy? Why can't they say that from the beginning instead of tricking a nice woman like me?
I can't answer for them,
right? But like, it's like a valid question. Yes, all these men are cheating. Like,
well, presumably, right? It's I think one of the things that women tend to discount when it comes to a man's sexual desire.
Oh yeah.
Is that we are, first of all, we're wired this way.
For sure.
And I think it's a hormonal response, right? When your testosterone is extremely high, or even just having testosterone in general, it kind of brings this desire to want to have sex essentially with the opposite sex, or whatever it is that you're attracted to.
Yeah.
And which sort of brings me to this question, that why is it that men should accept women hormones, but women don't accept men hormones?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, well, hey, if you're horny, go jack off in the bathroom, okay? It's a choice. It's a choice. And it's an awareness also. Uh-huh. Yeah. I can be PMSing. Okay, I'm psycho. I'm a PMSing bitch. Right now, I'm going to go do a yoga class and meditate for a little bit. Uh-huh. Okay, I'm horny. I'm a guy. I'm horny. I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick, honey. See ya. Okay. It's like, it's a choice. And I think love is also a choice too. Being in a relationship, a choice. We all have choices. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is watching porn cheating? I'm assuming based upon what you said that it's not.
I mean, unless it's like gotten out of hand. It's like on another level.
What do you mean gotten out of hand? What's gotten out of hand?
I mean, when it becomes an addiction, then it's out of hand.
What would be considered an addiction?
I mean, obsessing over it, doing it like hours a day. That's I mean,
do you know somebody like that?
Oh man, you hear stories sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like if somebody,
I think a lot of addicts, like in general, which I've known some, a lot of them, they fill one addiction with another.
Sure.
I can't do drugs, so I'm going to do porn or fitness. There's a lot of fitness people also.
Of course. So is watching porn once a day unreasonable?
I
Or
mean,
that's okay?
it's like it's for me. Are you asking my opinion or like objectively?
No, it's your opinion. I don't. There's no
you know
objective
what?
opinion on this.
Hey, that's fine. I'll allow it.
Okay, as long as you don't mind it, that's all that matters.
Don't neglect me, but
don't neglect me. Okay, final question. Does size matter?
you can't have a micro penis.
Not a micro one, but as long as it's not micro.
You know how to work it?
Have you ever?
Have
you ever encountered the micro penis?
No, but my girlfriends have told me stories of them.
Really?
Yes.
Meaning like they didn't like it or they did? So I have a friend.
No.
And
who would like that?
Well, so yeah. So one of our friends, she's like a sucker for micro penises. She goes and she finds people who have very small penises because it turns her on.
Stop it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good for her.
I mean, it's crazy because like
that's her fetish.
I've never heard anybody say that. And one time she was like, yeah, like I don't really want a guy with a big dick. I just want somebody who has a very small penis. And so I just go and find these guys that have very, very tiny penises.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the first
time
I've ever heard that.
It's pretty crazy.
You know what? Good for her and good for them.
This is what actually made me, when I had that conversation with her, I literally thought to myself that it doesn't matter how you're built. It doesn't matter what you look like. There is always someone that is going to want you and that is going to be attracted to you, regardless of what you look like, what size you are, what you have, what you don't have. It just doesn't matter.
It gives us everyone hope. Everyone hope for whatever.
Everyone's got hope.
Everyone's got hope.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. Thanks for your honesty. Thanks for your openness. You were great.
Thank you.
I hope that you find a man that is going to fulfill all your needs.
Thank you.
And make you happy one day.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.